Thank you very much, Wolf, for the analysis here. We're going to try to add something to that. I mean, Big Gods, they managed to do what seemed impossible, right? As a smaller team on paper, they managed to get not only a win, but a decisive one, a very convincing one. However, we have to say that Gale Esports, they had struggles with travel. So two players, namely Akaface and Michael Udall, they literally just arrived 1.5 hours ago. And what that means for team practice and preparation is very obvious, isn't it, Jay?
I think it might be a little bit obvious, but I don't want to take anything away from what Big Gods actually just did.
Yeah.
I mean, their rotations, they caught every bit that, as much as global mobility is there, they were able to rotate and get the picks that they needed and to be able to turn those fights into their favor. It seems like Gale Force was just slightly out of position, and Big Gods made them pay every single time. Every time. And I think that was what really helped them dominate this first game.
Yeah, man. The ETC with the Kael'thas follow-up was amazing. The force walls were on point. The synergy between these team members was very impressive. And like you said, I don't want to take anything away from that. There are a lot of people out of position for Gale Force for whatever reason, be it not having some time to practice or just tiredness or even just nerves.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, they were out of position a lot, and Big Gods did a great job of punishing that.
Yeah.
Gale definitely had a lot of problems with the coordination there. They had the double global, and it was actually really interesting to see because at some point we had 15 kills already on the side of the Big Gods and only 3 for their opponent, and we still had them on the same level.
Yeah.
I really feel that one of the problems that Gale Force had is that oftentimes they overreached. They lost the hero, 2 others were chased, and they tried to save them individually, and all of a sudden ending up losing way more than they should have. So I guess we're going to see that also in the replays that we're going to have a look at. But that's definitely a big problem in the game.
Definitely good keyword there, Color. First replay is ready, and that's, of course, the job for the one and only J-House. So let's take it away. And
I think what we're going to see is a lot right here. This is where the stun came in. We can already pause this. Now, this right here, the Dwarf Toss was already used, and you see a huge focus onto, and we're having a little bit of issues. All right, so we're having a few issues right there, but you can see right there is we'll go ahead and play this here really quick, and you can see it baited out, and you can see just barely staying alive is Muradin there. But the minute they turn that around, everything was already used, and you can see going in on that back line is Michael Udall. Unfortunately, here comes the Mighty Gust, and it kind of puts them in an awkward position. They secure the kill onto Zeratul, but it left them out of position. Instant mosh pit turned it directly into those kills there for Big Gods to be able to turn that into their favor once again.
Man, the Kael'thas play from Muri's. You had asked Keldor who he thought was the one to highlight, and I had thought the same about J-Shrip, but also Muri's has just been really fantastic. And even though he didn't get his Greymane, and Greymane was one of his comfort picks, Kael'thas is another one, and he really showed why.
yeah, and I think without further ado, we can actually jump right into number 2, or highlight number 2, JL.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of highlights, especially moments that worked out in favor of Big Gods. Let's go ahead and pause it right now. 16 was hit, and this is what we were looking at right there, is that already Michael Udall is out of position, and right here, I think, is where we're going to go ahead and locate that. But they hit 16, and this is the moment where Michael Udall should have rotated back. We'll go ahead and play it forward, and this is exactly where things, again, continue to turn. Things were looking good for Gale Force, but the minute all of this happened, Michael Udall is forced to commit. He goes in on the back line. The rest of the team is going to suffer because of it, and this just did not work out. On the backside, you have the mosh pit. Each time this happened, they were slightly out of position, forced the team into these awkward fights.
These 2 mosh pits that we actually saw in the last 2 fights, I want to highlight it again. I said it when the draft happened, and I'm going to say it again. ETC should have never gotten any value out of it. But every single time it happens, they don't pay attention to ET. That's one of the things that happens. They don't pay attention to him. He gets mosh pits off against too many heroes that can interrupt him. Or they take fights where they already have Gust out, they just use the Stormbolt, all of the stuns are gone, they didn't pick the Wave of Force in Lemmings, they have no interrupts left, and ETC can just do whatever he wants. That should never happen. They really had a huge problem playing these team fights and have the coordination there.
All right, and 3rd time's the charm, so let's drop another one. Another
one. Yeah, I think this is one of the more exciting parts, and this was kind of the beginning of the end that we see. And here, let's go ahead and pause it right now. Dread pointed this out. Look down here in the bottom left, and that is the mosh pit. It's a zoning mosh pit.
So good.
You talk about value, Caldor. How many times do you see somebody make this play? This is what separates the pros right here. Is that mosh pit right there. We'll go ahead and play it forward. It leaves the rest of Gale Force with no retreat.
Look at the positioning again. There's nobody there who can interrupt that. Gust is already out. We are seeing Muradin dead, and Brightwing was also too far away when that happened and had then the cooldown up. So it's just perfect. You interrupt everybody from escaping. And that situation, that occurred because they were trying to save heroes, where they shouldn't have done that. They should have just like said, okay, we're going to lose a hero. Let's move back, sacrifice that one hero, and leave it at that. They didn't.
They recommitted.
Moved back in. Murden died anyways, and then on the way back, they lose even more. And that's exactly the problem. Thanks to the double global, they always kept the experience up. They didn't have to win these fights. Even the boss, for example, that was taken earlier, didn't get any value for the Brazilian team, actually. The Siege Giant Camp, we talked about this a little bit. They took it, like, the American team took a Siege Giant Camp before the boss fight started. That Siege Giant Camp took down an entire wall, destroyed it. The boss itself didn't do anything. Those globals kept them in the game, but they tried to save heroes, fight fights they shouldn't have fought, and it's kind of destroyed them in the end.
And it's definitely cool to see that this series already has all the spice that we could ever ask for. It's a nice background story to have the underdogs from South America, or the Brazilians actually, doing really well. And let's actually, without further ado, move on to map number 2. We're going to stay in the desert. It's going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen. And I feel like this is a map where the map objective isn't as tremendous, isn't as significant, because you know, the wave viewers aren't really doing a lot of damage like the temples on the Sky Temple. So is it a better map for, let's say, Gale Force Esports to sort of stabilize Gilly?
I'm scared when I look at what just happened in that, to look at them going to Tomb. And the reason is because Big Gods came out with very aggressive pick-style composition. And where better to take that than to Tomb of the Spider Queen?
Well, we're going to see, obviously, I don't think we're going to see Zeratul the same way that we saw it last time, but one hero that we always see, or at least whether it be in bans or pick phase, is Zul being picked up very early.
Yeah, talking about Zeratul, Typhix played one hell of a game there. He was basically like a Seeker missile, always sticking to the valuable primary targets in the backline.
Exactly. Like, Typhix on Zeratul was amazing, and we talked a lot about why the Gale Force Esports actually lost. We haven't really talked about too much about why Big Gods won. They just smelled blood in the water, and they played a really great game there. They took the chance that they had, and I'm also a little bit afraid for Gale Force, because I feel like Sky Temple was actually a map still a bit in favor of Gale Force, because they are supposed to be the stronger team here. In this case now, we're having, first of all, of course, Kel'Thas taken, an amazing hero for this, and Gale Force already switching it up a bit, securing one of those strong supports for them, because they realized that with Brightwing, they might just not have enough heal to deal with the compositions that Big Gods play. One
of the more interesting things was that they actually hovered Illidan first and decided, hey, wait a minute, this is Tomb of the Spider Queen, and the fact that Illidan got through the draft, it shows on this map, but they're definitely making sure they secure the supports a little bit earlier this time.
Not only the supports, but they also took Kel'Thas. And when have we ever known Gale Force to prioritize when Li Ming is up, go for Kel'Thas? And I think it's as much they need to not only ban Tassadar away from Big Gods, put them on an even playing field support-wise, but also take Kel'Thas away from Yuri's, because that was just too good.
And look at that.
Have Li Ming finally played for Big Gods. I like it. So they show that they have someone on Li Ming that is actually confident enough. On this map, of course, she's great. She can interrupt the channels, which is always kind of nice. You take her away from Gale Force, is always cool. Personally, what Gio just said, I still want to see if maybe we're seeing Gale Force commit to Illidan. It's not the typical Illidan map because the distance to safety is very short, but a lot of teams have started to play the hero on this map a little bit more, because once the forts are down, you get a lot of value out of Illidan. So you just have to delay the aggression with him a bit, but you can still play him. Would be interesting to see.
And now, of course, Li Ming being taken away from Crowan in Gale Force Esports roster. And Gilly and I, we talked about this during the game, that he excels on those, you know, mechanical assassins. But let's see. This is Asmodan being banned. All right.
Yeah, they banned the Tyrande because they see Muradin, and they know that Big Gods, obviously, they want early game pick rotations, and taking Tyrande away from Muradin is crucial in that respect. Now taking away some stuns, they feel more comfortable in going for this Illidan.
I mean, the fact that you can also follow up Muradin Tyrande with Azul Bone Prison, I mean, that's just an ultimate blow-up comp when you have Li Ming behind it. The fact that they're going into Illidan, they're going to have to be on top of their cleanse, because when you have Zul there with that Bone Prison to be able to try and get away, I mean, that's kind of the ultimate counter. I think Big Gods has been doing a little bit of studying, because Asmodan got taken off there.
Well, I mean, they are getting Johanna, so they're prioritizing having Johanna. She's going to help out with the wave clear too, and also potentially even just pulling people off if Illidan gets in trouble, along with being able to cleanse him out. Like you said, even though they don't have Tyrande, they still do have potential to lock him down, and that's always Illidan's greatest fear.
My Insanity has shown that playing Illidan on Tomb of the Spider Queen definitely works. They are not the only team, of course, but we've seen them just recently do that. I feel the comp that we're seeing on the side of Gale Force Esports definitely is extremely solid. It's very important, though, that Illidan makes sure that early on he doesn't go too deep, especially when those forts are still up. So that's really crucial. It all hinges on how well he's being played here.
Yeah, and positioning-wise.
Do Do you think
Michael
there's
was a
room for
problem.
the Holy Trinity here with an Abathur maybe? Is Gale Force Esports the team that does that?
Not on this
No.
map.
No.
On this map, Abathur doesn't get very little value on the map. It's always very like one of the huge things about Abathur is that he wants to really soak experience when the objective is up. That's why we oftentimes see him on big maps in particular.
Right.
Also when the objective spawns at a certain location, so he can travel to the other side of the map. This map is so small that you're always endangered once you move out onto the map. So Abathur usually not really getting a whole lot of here. Normally, when you play Illidan, you're right. You play him either with an Abathur in addition to the second support
Especially
or
with a Kale, you
Tassadar.
could also go for a Kale copy.
But I think an Abathur in such a situation would be a massive mistake on this map in particular.
Yeah.
It's not really something that we see very often from Gale Force anyway.
I
It would have
almost
to
feel
be
like they're going to go
Raffle.
right back into Falstad.
Yeah, I think Falstad is a big potential. Big Gods are going to grab Sylvanas, and that's really going to help make maybe a battleground objective that isn't quite as influential do more
Make it more
because
deadly.
she can shut down these structures.
Another thing that I want to point out real quickly is I like that pick. I was actually going to talk about Sylvanas being used here. We have now two of the heroes that have been like the ultimate counter to Illidan for a long time. The Muradin and also the Silence on Sylvanas. We've been already mentioning the Bone Prison on Zul. If
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
not
yeah.
being dodged, then
And the Cursed
you
Strikes.
can use that too. So you have actually at this point already a ton of counter plays against Illidan that you can use here. So again, Illidan is going to be
Ooh.
absolutely crucial. If he can create space for Lunara and for Kel'Thas to safely get that damage, and it's going to be amazing. But it's all going to hinge on Illidan right now. And
Yeah.
if he messes up and dies too early in these fights, overextends, then it's absolutely lights out for Gale Force.
Yeah, they had some problems with the positioning and overextensions, and it wasn't just Michael Udall. We saw it from Fury quite a bit too. Maybe not realizing that even though he was playing Muradin, who is traditionally very tanky, when you are up against a Kael'thas who is just very strong and can put in that single target damage once he gets Gravity Crush, they would just get hit by a power slide, picked up by a Gravity Lapse, and it was lights out for Muradin.
And I think we're looking at something slightly different. The fact that they went into Lunara, the fact that they went into Illidan, that's like death by a slow death if you're on the other team. And I'm not real sure how well that's going to pair up. Obviously, Kael'thas is a strong hero altogether. It's just a matter of how well does that synergize with their team with that last pickup of Lunara. They can poke, 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 but is it going to be enough to match the wave clear that they're going to have between Sylvanas and Zul?
Yeah, that's a lot of specialist ability to clear it. But Lunara similarly has good wave clear. Kael'thas is another good one too. And then they have Johanna. So I think a lot of it will come down to who can control those early game rotations.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm actually going to step in there because I hear that the players are definitely getting ready. So let's actually just jump to quick predictions here, Caller. Who do you think has the upper end in game number 2?
I'm afraid for Gale Force, but I believe that they can make it happen, and I say they're going to take him too.
All right.
I'm in agreement.
How could you not be?
I know, right?
J-Hell.
I feel that they drafted against Illidan, did big gods. I hate to say it, but I'm going the other way. Big
Traitor.
gods. I know.
Shouldn't that have been my cast?
I have to say that this is actually the trickiest game to predict because, I mean, both teams have a solid draft, but I'm just not sure how mentally fit Gale Force Esports in their current state is. So I'm actually going to go with J-How and Big Gods here. I think with the Sylvanas, with the Zul, they have a tremendous pushing power. And especially on this map with the Web Weavers, they can definitely make that work. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. Hopefully, though, Gilly, I'm with you there.
I mean, if nothing else, in game 3, right?
Yeah, game 3 would be amazing. Actually, that would be the first series on this day where we get to game 3. So it can only be a win-win situation. Let's actually move on to the casters, though. Dreadnought and Wolf are ready, so let's not make them wait.
Thank you very much, Kendrick, for not making me wait, because I cannot wait to get into this game 2 because Big Gods looked like they were on fire.
Yeah.
In game number 1, I'm liking their draft in game number 2, and if my prediction nameplate popped up, I'd be on Big God's side here.
I actually agree with you. Not only do I think they have a solid draft, but Gale Force didn't look on the same page at all, and I don't think that's going to change at all here. Granted, Michael Udall is on a hero that he probably feels like he can have a positive influence on the team and maybe are a little bit more comfortable as well.
Yeah, sure.
So it is being a team leader that might be something that is a redeeming quality to this game specifically.
Yeah, and talking about roles, Crowan, of course, is going to be on Kael'thas, but that does leave Rafflecopter on Lunara. And you were telling me a little bit earlier you might be concerned about just his positioning on that type of hero. Can you elaborate on that?
Definitely when it comes to the team, that Raffle's positioning is probably one of the weakest when it comes to the squad, and obviously Lunara really needs to have great positioning here, especially with the amount of lockdown that Big Odds has on the comp, so I am a bit fearful that they decided to put him onto the hero, but they said they've been practicing it quite a bit, so maybe he's got it figured out here, and they'll be able to deal with the situation, but both teams going blow for blow here in the mid lane already, even with Mike Udall at level 1 here.
He is going to go down already. First blood goes to Big Gods, and Fury trying to do everything he can to allow his team to disengage, and they will. Crone eating those magic missiles. And though I guess the one thing Big Gods didn't do with this was really push a lane. They decided to try to go for the fight instead, and Gale Force was ready for that. They even minion blocked, but they still lost somebody. That's a big concern already here at level 1.
I think like I think that's the best expression of the jitters and frustration and maybe confusion, I guess, that you can see out of Gale Force. You have a Lunara, an Illidan, and a Johanna, and you look for kill potential at level 1. Like, what? Against a Zul Muradin? Like, I feel like your kill potential is almost non-existent at that point. And they were willing to risk way too much. It's not like they caught Illidan. Illidan dove in, right? So,
another thing I want to point out at level 1 here is, as Crone gets storm bullet here, he did not go for Mana Addict, which means he's not going to have his barrier later on in the game. And this is a map where it's really easy to get that up very quickly because you're rotating between lanes, you get a lot of globes. And if he gets storm bolted into a Bone Prism, or if he's silenced, for example, he can't use his escapes there, like, and he has to like try to panic escape, I'm worried for him, you know? Okay, looks like we're going to see Beto come in here again, but he may have overextended. He does Dwarf Toss out of that slow. But yeah, just to kind of close that thought, that's like a bit concerning to me that he didn't go for that.
I 100% agree. Not only because the map complements the talent choice, but also when you look at the composition for Gale Force, you're going to want to see Aka face babying Michael Udall as best as he possibly can, right? Not many resources need to be drawn onto the Kel'Thas. He needs to be able to hold his own, if you will, when it comes to this small skirmish here. I don't think anything's really going to happen with it here. Vieira actually just burnt 2 Radiant Dashes, dodges the Condemn there, and be able to get out. But again,
a close call there. That was scary.
But again, it's just, you want the Illidan to draw the resources, not kill Thos. And again, counterintuitive kind of what they need to be doing. But Aka's going to get stunned out here.
Yep, and it looks like he is going to be rooted as well. Mike Udall eating that orb, so he's not going to be able to stick around for very long, and they will just disengage. I got a question for you. Looking at these all 4 talents, we do have Triumvirate coming out for Li Ming. What do you think about that here on this map in particular? It's going to be hard to hit max range a lot of the time because of all the minions.
It's not as appealing as Dominance, I feel like, in most situations. I feel like that's a heavy amount of confidence in their ability to just like delay at max range over their opponents here. But I guess it's just personal choice, probably, when it comes to them. They feel like they are going to have that positioning. Rhaegar, Akaface going down. Mike Udall is going to die as well. That's 1 reset and 2.
I'm seeing Big Gods feel blood in this series. They are, you could just feel their confidence radiate with these moves. They're just so aggressive. They're finding picks early on. They have a comp that allows that. And they're punishing bad positioning over and over again. Like, Crone should not be there dropping that Flame Shake. That's so greedy.
Yeah.
If he had gotten Stormbolt, that might have been another kill.
Yep. It's just, again, it's a rough position to be in if you are Gale Force for the time being. But they still have a great composition. Lunar's one of the strongest scaling heroes in the game. Illidan obviously thrives as the map opens up. But Crone does get stunned out here. Almost dies. Draws resources from Akaface. Gosh.
He face-checked that, basically.
Yeah.
He didn't have vision. He walked right into Beto there. And that was obviously nearly his death. Again, he's going to have to Hearth Home, which means that these web weavers are going to be pushing with 1 member even out of the lanes here with Zul and Sylvanas. This is when things can start to really snowball. This map, not that snowbally, but when you have Zul and Sylvanas.
Yeah. The double specialist dream, really, when it comes to this map. Another prison coming out onto Fury here. Ironskin's probably still going to be available for him. He will be able to get away. And again, outside of Lunar, Gale Force, I guess Kel'Thas is a decent amount of clear. Illidan usually struggles unless left alone for the time being. And again, the double specialist Big Gods have. They should be able to get a lot of value out of these web weavers.
Yeah, definitely so. All the lanes were basically pushed as well, so they were getting right onto the walls. And they're looking for an engage here, but Beto is in the perfect position. He's scouting, he sees their move out, and everyone has to back away.
I wonder if they're going to... Mike Udall is shown in the upper lane, and they have Sylvanas. Yeah, they're going to decide to capitalize on this and try and push onto the fort. Good job from Fury to be able to scare them off a bit there, get a lot of poke with the kill Thos. Big Odds definitely could have gotten that fort for free there, so really good defense from GFE.
Yeah, and this allows Mike Udall to get that extra soak to even out the EXP. They're still a little bit behind in that regard. They do have enough for a turn-in. The problem is getting to that. Oh, Rafflecopter does get caught out here and blown up, but the problem with the fact that they have 35 gems is that all the lanes are pushed non-stop, so there's no way for them to turn in secretly or stealthily, just simply because there's vision all over the map. If they don't have vision because of their lanes, it's because Beto is in perfect spots hiding in the bushes, but they do finally secure that with that push to the bot. Yeah,
and they do manage to get a turn in as well. Fury's going to pop the Iron Skin to walk away from this prison. So Webweaver's finally coming out for Gale Force Esports here, and for Lunara, we do see the Nature's Calling at level 7, so she will be able to get a large amount of structure damage and wave clear for her team here. I'm surprised, actually, Gale Force is sending only Illidan to clear on the bottom half of the map. I feel like Lunara would have been free clear and then rotate to a 5-man on mid here. But they have a lot of options. They need to gain value out of this. They have to open up the map for Illidan.
It looks like they're going to try for it. Beto's actually coming in here, and Akafoy's taking a lot of damage. A good condemn here to try to keep him alive. And, you know, fighting under the Webweaver definitely going to be a challenge here for Big Gods. And no big fight committed to there. I was getting ready. I was about to go into play-by-play mode, Dreadnought, but it didn't happen. As Jay Shredda does back up over here.
That's an actual mode.
It's an actual mode.
You have to convert into it. It is a real thing.
You have to flip that switch.
Yeah. But now Gale Force Esports, they are losing all the web weavers and falling down. Didn't gain anything out of it. No fort has really been opened up.
Yeah,
a couple of front walls, but that's it.
All these web weavers really accomplished was making sure the lanes weren't pushed under their forts anymore.
Welcome to facing double
alive.
specialist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As we see, though, I mean, they're constantly trying to look for these picks, like they're hiding in the brush, but they haven't been able to find value with that just yet. Okay, Fury's going to go for a big turn, and that would be nice if we can actually dump those 20, and he's not denied, so big win here, but Crowan is taking a ton of damage, does get caught multiple times here, and obviously we're a ways away from this yet, but this is the reason why I thought Mana Addict would have been the choice here, because, you know, if you get caught this many times, it's one of those panic buttons that can help you survive moments like this. As we go into the later game, those deaths are going to mean a lot more.
Yeah, Gale Force again just really struggling when it comes to the pick department, being isolated, and Murden just dwarf tossing in, getting a good Stormbolt, and that's the end of their lives. They aren't 10 quite yet. Iron Skin is used to try and get Fury away from his opponents here, but they decided to back out and not capitalize on that 4 versus 5 for a bit.
Level 10's reached here now finally for Gale Force, so they're just a hair behind in EXP, but all heroics are online, all 10 of them. Don't forget the Wailing Arrow is going to be the really big story here for Big Gods. If they can silence Illidan and get that pick and get the resets, it's going to be hard-pressed, or Gale Force will be hard-pressed to win a team fight.
They very much will be here. They're trying to be aggressive. Big Gods, dwarf tossing over the wall there, missing the Stormbolt. Fury's trying to counter-engage here.
And here comes Mike Udall. He comes into the side, and he wants to engage onto this. There, down goes the Phoenix.
That Wailing Arrow.
And that's the key. I mean, if you go in hard and everyone starts to collapse and that Wailing Arrow hits multiple and you just have to disengage, you have to get out. I do feel like the fact that they have Rhaegar on their team does mean that they can fight longer and harder.
Yeah, and this is actually a really good fight for Gale Force if they manage to take it in this area. If they can force Big Gods to go into one of those chokeholds where there isn't a turret to be able to back out and defend to, but we'll see if they're going to be able to do that as they do Metamorphosis in.
Mike Udall is going in. He wants to kill Vieira, and I think he will. Vieira actually does palm himself. Mike Udall kind of caught awkwardly here. He is Ancestral. Beto taking a lot of damage. Type X is also low. This is a huge win here for Gale Force. How many kills can they pick up? It looks like it's just going to be one for the time being.
Yeah.
And no value for resets there.
Yeah, one thing I actually really would have liked to see is they decided to focus the targets that move through bottom rather than through that chokehold. Again, the chase potential in those areas is far greater than the rest of the map because they haven't opened up the map with their first set of web weavers. Gale Force does get a kill and have now kind of shown signs of life here, but not maybe getting as much as they could have.
Yeah, if they had secured, a few more kills there, I think this web weaver push would be a lot more powerful.
Yes.
And even, we talk about how annoying it is to deal with double specialists on this map, but even when you're pushing with your web weavers, it makes the defense a ton easier as well. They don't last as long. But let's see. I mean, this is the beginning of something for Gale Force here. They obviously take that big fight, the first one they've taken this game. Even though it's only 1 kill, it gives them the space to get this web weaver.
Yeah.
And as the game goes longer, obviously those scale into the mid game now, nearly at 10 minutes.
And it's really the first time Gale Force, not only in this game, but it feels like in the series, has had momentum kind of going into their favor, right? Like, yeah, the last game they weren't losing XP too hard, but it wasn't like they ever won a team fight. It was legitimately like negating with the double globals in every situation here. But now they are being able to distract in the middle, trying to gain value out of both top and mid. Gale Force here needs to make something happen. They have to open up the map here. They're not abusing Nature's Calling in any way, shape, or form, and I feel like it's a really big misplay on their half.
Yeah, it's just the rotations they've been making, as I've been noticing, is they keep sending Udall by himself.
Yes.
And hold that thought, Typex does get jumped on here. The Condemned to follow up. The Boimpers are going to help them disengage, and actually they might turn on this. Poison Nova does go down. Already a kill, though.
They do go 1 for 1 so far. Metamorphosis coming in, though. Great haunting way to try and get out of this situation, though. Vieira's going to be able to Radiant Dash. Mike Udall says, I am not done with you yet. Going back in here, but everybody's health pool just going down to nearly 0. Not quite yet here, and no counter turn-in available for Gale Force.
I want to point out Akaface's Ancestral there was so patient.
Yes.
That's the sign of a good Rhaegar player, when you know that it's like, okay, this is the exact moment where I need to do this, because I don't know exactly if Mike Udall is going to go in or not, but he needs to live. And yeah, he didn't go for the attack there as it was going a bit too deep, but that Ancestral means that they can stay in lane, they can stick around in this 1v1 or 1-for-1 trade. Although he needs to survive here. Nice dodge on that Stormbolt. Beto has missed quite a few Stormbolts this game. I think he's
surprising, actually.
He's predicting where his targets are going to be, but just Gale Force is one step ahead.
He's got the dash. It's gotta matter. I don't think. Great cleanse actually coming out, dodging the Stormbolt as well, but it's not.
Just barely not. Fury does come up. He stays alive. Akaface is going to go over and heal him. Maurice is getting very, very low. He is healed up, but Crowan is all alone, and Crowan basically sacrifices himself in order to make that a less bad situation.
Yeah.
If I could just try to say that nicely for Gale Force, but this is Big Gods now with a Web Weaver push with 2 specialists nearly at 12 minutes. And they don't have Crowan's Wave Clear to help defend this, and Rafflecopter gets taken out. Fury's in trouble here. He does use his Stone Skin to back off, but this is easily going to be a fort in the mid lane, and they might even be able to get that keep wall if they keep the push going.
Yeah, so now they are getting the threatening Web Weaver on the bottom half of the map and his mid as well. It's the double specialist. You see Zul is going to be able to isolate through top. Meanwhile, Sylv is crippling the mid lane here. They don't have any wave clear without Lunara up, really. Kael'thas was dead as well, so for the time being, Gale Force is just having a hard time being able to deal with these Web Weavers, and now losing all 3 of their forts and threatening a keep already for Big Gods as they close in on 16.
Glass Cannon taken for Li Ming at 13, allowing a lot more damage and a lot more kill potential in some of these situations as well. Just want to point out, just like oftentimes just on the cusp of getting that final tick of health on Disintegrate.
Yeah.
And we'll see. This is a really strong push up here, even though the Web Weaver is nearly dead. Typex, though, does get stunned. Beautiful palm to keep him alive.
Really good job, Vieira, just being able to keep his entire team alive here. And Raffle actually almost going down. Good Ancestral here, Wolf, but I don't know if it's going to matter.
Oh, this is an opportunity for Mike Udall. Already a kill here onto Li Ming. Fury disengaging. Mike Udall trying to get in there, but the positioning for Beto is so good. Fury will go down.
The gravity lapse hitting 3 people. Mike Udall, that's 2 going to be going down. 3, 4 now. That's going to be a boss opportunity here on the upper half of the map for Gale Force.
A team wipe here at 13 minutes, and absolutely they can boss here. And they're going to go for it right away, not wasting any time. Don't forget that they do have a full turn-in after this as well at 62 gems, so they can just turn in immediately.
But we have an instant replay for this team fight, Wolf, and just the amount of damage they've got onto their targets here. It was very well done. Even with the Poison Nova hitting all 5 members of Gale Force Esports, they were able to turn it around.
Yeah. And with this wipe, they will grab Boss, and it's going to be Boss plus Web Weavers. And Big Gods will, have to feel fear for the first time. Luckily, they still have their top fort. This buys them a lot of time. And with the turn-in time as well, it's going to give them a little bit more time to respawn. It's not like they're going to be against Boss and Web Weavers without, being alive.
Yeah.
But still, this is a huge opportunity for Gale Force to turn this game around.
It definitely is a momentum swing into their favor here, but again, not maximizing things as well as they could have. Not timing the Web Weavers very well. When it comes to the boss, obviously moving through here, sending Johanna to clear on bottom and trying to gain a bit more value, but guess what? The wave didn't move.
Do you think that they could have gotten a keep there if they went there immediately instead of trying to clear waves while doing this?
They actually, I felt like the best route they could have gone is take the fort for free, take the fort, take the boss, get the turn in, and then go. and they ended up taking none of those routes, really gaining as little as they could. Web Weavers are threatening on top, but a huge skirmish.
Oh, Mike Goodall taking so much damage, though. He's stunned. The Poison Nova really hurting him here. Murray is very low as well. Looks like it will be saved by Vera. There's the disengage. The Phoenix getting very little value here as Big Gots got off of that right away. And, you know, while they're fighting here, the Web Weavers are pushing, but they're not being assisted in any way. And because of the forts that were up earlier, they're just not getting much done. Not even going to get a keep wall here.
And it wasn't stacked with the boss again. There is a bright side, right? When we look at the situation for Gale Force Esports, and what that is if this fort falls, all 3 forts are off the map. Illidan is finally in the opportunity where he can thrive. He doesn't have to worry about the structural defense. His opponents have long distance to be able to withdraw. So there is a small silver lining in this game so far for Gale Force after that momentum swing.
Yeah.
But again,
something else we haven't really talked about too much is that one of the big reasons why a wipe is so powerful on this map is because you lose all your gems. And
yes.
Gods only has 11 gems here, so there's not going to be a turn-in anytime soon, although before that fight, they absolutely would be at the point right now to do so. So now the game has evened when it comes to the objectives. Obviously, structure-wise, Big Gods in the lead.
They very much are here, and half of the gems are available for Gale Force, having 29 that they need out of the 65.
You know, if Rafflecopter can just stay alive, the unfair advantage value is huge at this point with the composition they're running. They're also grabbing massive slows with a totem at level 16 on Rhaegar. Looks like this is going to be another fight here. A huge Wailing Arrow goes off with that orb, and Gale Force Esports need to get the hell out of there, Dreadnought. This is not a good situation. Vera already on his way in, maybe a bit too aggressively.
Good turnaround, but look at that damage on Akaface and Crowan here. Dwarf Toss in, the Ancestral hits after here, but everybody seems to be going down. That's 3 people dead. 4 is going to be falling soon here.
Oh man, they're so close to getting that extra kill. Jay Shrita actually taking a lot of damage, but they're not able to finish him off. Rafflecopter wants it, but I don't think this is the time.
But the poison!
The poison will get it. A nice kill.
That is insane.
That was risky business right there.
Oh man, 3 for 3 though.
Yeah, that could have been almost 3 for none had they not turned that around so carefully there. But still, it's a lot of gems lost on the side of Gale Force Esports.
Yes. Yeah,
and I guess this kind of does even out. There's no real objectives to take except like bot giants.
Yeah. It's the struggle of Tomb of the Spider Queen as well, right? Because like outside of the direct map objective, there's very few things that you can do to like essentially build a win condition. Boss was burnt, and so was your Web Weavers. You gained almost little to no value on the side of Gale Force when you had both of those objectives. And so now both these teams, because they did get a wipe, are sitting in this limbo area where it's like the race to 20 is on, and then whoever can goaltend the best, I guess, because they're almost on even footing in the gem department.
Very true. And it looks like Gale Force Esports is going to take the opportunity to grab these giants. Will they be punished for it? Obviously, Big Gods knows what's up. There's no vision on either part of the map. They have the mid lane push, so they knew this was happening. Looks like they're just going to let it happen. Not going to take a risk here. Obviously, the later the game goes, as we near 18 minutes in, those death timers get so long, taking a risky move for Giants not always worth it. Typex does get caught here, has to burn his shield, and I think this is going to be an easy kill for Gale Force.
Really well done. Akaface with the totem there to make a big play. Metamorphosis coming in with the Blessed Shield as well, Wolf.
And Mike Udall coming into the back lines here onto Maurice. He's in trouble, trying to hit those missiles. Looks like he will just barely be able to get over that wall in time. But with this pickoff, level 20 is on the horizon, and that keep very, very vulnerable here with 4 in the mid. Looks like they're going to back off for now. The Mercs are still pushing bot. Udall again splitting to guarantee them that level 20.
Boss spawns in 10 seconds. There is a 25-second advantage until Big Gods has 5 members, but it's a very risky decision for Gale Force if they decide to move into it. They are closing in as well when it comes to the gems here. They're trying to make something happen. Crowan looks like he's moving towards the boss. They're very hesitant on this call. Ooh. They are going to decide to go to it with 20 advantage.
They're going to bait it, though. They're not actually going to try to do it. This is smart. This is going to force a reaction with no vision here for Big Gods. And you know what? They don't take the bait.
They don't.
They back off.
But then
very
they start.
Smart.
They start it. They're going to be able to start it here. It's already going down to half health. Nature's Calling is ripping through that thing, and all of Big Gods back out. They completely back out of the situation here, so they aren't willing to risk that fight into 20. It won't be a game-ending boss. It doesn't do that much when it comes to siege.
Yeah, they have keep towers as well in the top lane, so it's not going to be a game-ending boss. You know what? This is a really respectable decision. Big Gods is not going to have 20, and if they lost that fight, they will lose the game. They will lose the game, and they're not willing to risk it. And that takes really like a decision sometimes to not fight takes more balls than the decision to fight in a moment like this.
Yep.
And I really respect the decision. Vera caught out here for just a second. Will dash away. Let's see if they can grab a keep off this boss. It's already at 1/3 health.
Yeah, it's the web weavers that are probably going to be able to secure it, if anything here. The fight, if the keep is up, is going to be very risky for Gale Force. Again, because they're so close to the core, Illidan is in a rough situation for him overall to try and kind of thrive here. Lunar's got to get a lot of poke for her team, not only to the opponents, but again, onto the keep.
Yeah, just looking at level 20s, nothing crazy out of the ordinary here for either team. I think one of the biggest power spikes actually is Indestructible for Johanna, because she's going to be much harder to kill, much harder to get resets off of. Very aggressive moves here by Deshrita, just trying to poke some damage down to slow this push in the top lane. This is obviously the lane where the push happens because it is the boss lane, so later on if this keep is unlocked, as long as you can just push to win, as the boss will scale very highly. When we were at 20 minutes and 30 seconds, is the map where the games go the longest. And neither team wants to take risks here.
Yeah, so Gale Force rotating mid here, they should be threatening the keep still to draw a poor rotation or a 4 vs 5. Instead, they meet the Web Weaver, which is, again, a safe defense for Big Gods in every way, shape, and form. So Gale Force, again, I feel like not capitalizing on things effectively as much as they could, I guess. Bottom's not going to gain too much value. They do get a prison onto Fury here. Will he pop the Iron Skin? Keep in mind, Indestructible is up for him.
Yeah, looks like he's just going to go ahead and use it, absorb that damage. And Big Gods is engaged. This almost feels like a game of chicken right now.
Yeah.
As neither team is willing to risk it all. But as we get closer and closer to, I mean, realistically, the next turn-ins and also the next boss, which is a long way away. This could happen. Typhex overextends again. This is not the first time this game, and he's going to get punished for it. Will go, oh, he's palmed. He does live. Mike Udall has to retreat. Down goes the Storm Shield. Rafflecopter narrowly escaping as well.
Trying to keep him alive. Metamorphosis as well. Typhex barely surviving with 60 health onto the backline there, being able to keep himself alive. Mike Udall's got a lot of pressure onto him as well. These teams' health bars slowly going down, but overall, Big Gods has a huge win. Great cleanse from Akaface to be able to keep Rafflecopter alive here, but Gale Force is on the retreat. I
think they might actually keep going for it. Maurice is about to have his disintegrate in just a second. If he can maybe start getting some resets, there it goes. He doesn't get a kill with it, though, and that will force them to retreat. I think one of the biggest problems in that fight was Mike Udall didn't hit anybody with his Metamorphosis.
Yeah, he didn't get very much value out of it as well. Threaten on the bottom half of the map here. Gale Force Esports has postured on top to try and do something. But again, they're just choosing fights that are in rough positioning, I guess, for Gale Force. They have chosen Illidan on one of his weaker maps. Again, he can always work, but you always have to be calculated and gain things out of bosses, out of turn-ins, which we've seen almost none of out of the GFA.
And with no turn-in for Gale Force and a very easy turn-in here for Big Gods, I think the biggest problem for Gale Force after that fight is they lost Indestructible, which means that no longer Johanna can actually be that huge frontliner who can stun everybody and even shield glare like this. Much riskier when you don't have Indestructible. Fury taking a lot of damage. The Phoenix goes down, though. Typex is palmed. He does live through this, and they're going to try to retreat.
Mike Udall confirms a kill onto the backline here. One will be falling for Big Gods here. Typhex looks like he's going to be going down as well. Wolf, they are dominating in this team fight.
Nice Storm Shield just for safety, just to make sure nothing happens here. They don't want a kill to get confirmed on Li Ming, so the resets could happen. And this is a big win here for Gale Force Esports. I don't think this is going to allow them to end the game, but they could try to grab a keep here in the top lane. And it does actually take away from the gem count. There's no longer have a turn-in on the side of Big Gods.
Yeah, they should be able to get a double keep in this situation. If they get 1 to 2 picks, they can look to end the game here. Mike Udall getting a little bit aggressive here, so that's going to be one going down. They do have great core diving when it comes to Illidan. Obviously, he's one of the best in the game. They rotate for the double keep here, which is a smart call on their half here.
They have the Knights here with them as well, so it's a lot easier. Don't forget, 17 seconds to go. Mike Udall going in. He's actually at very, very low. And he gets killed. And this could be game if they keep pushing it. They're going right for the core. Vieira's going to be the next to fall. He palms himself, but that's not going to keep him alive for much longer. They're just going to go straight for the core.
They can't stop him. That one pick was all they needed. Very good job from Mike Udall being aggressive with his team here. He will be able to clean it up between him and Nature's Calling. The spawn on the Sylvanas is not going to matter here, and Gale Force come back in the series, putting it even with 1-1.
Forcing the very first third game in this this group stage of the tournament. And, you know, there were some decisions that we saw Gale force to that were very tough. Big God's making some tough choices in the late game as well. When to the boss, when to not boss.
Yeah.
Mike Udall always where he needed to be in team fights. Really interesting that they sent him to soak most of the time, but it worked out for them because when they were behind, he got the soak, got them to catch up in levels, and then with the scaling that comes up later once he gets to 16 in Immolation, can actually have those really strong team fights later on. And, you know, the fact that Crowan got caught a lot in the early game was really scary. He didn't have Arcane Barrier. But in the late game, I feel like he really started to hit his groove.
Yeah,
like he wasn't getting caught out as often.
His gravity lapses seemed to get better as the game went on as well.
Yeah.
His defensive tools.
That one gravity lapse that turned the whole fight around in the top lane was super, super important. And yeah, I just feel like this team, they had some, you know, airline problems, weren't able to get here on time. They were definitely having some troubles warming up in that first game and in the early game of that second game. But I do feel by the end of that, they were looking Gale Force Esports level.
Yeah. They definitely seemed like they fixed a lot of maybe the problems we saw in the first game. I still feel like it's not maybe what they were at the North American Regional by any means. With the boss decisions, with the turn-ins, again, the value that they got out of a lot of the objectives felt inferior of what they could have gotten. But, but they definitely stepped it up. I feel better about their presence, I guess, going into this third game.
Well, speaking of going to that third game, we are going to throw it back over to Kendrick and the panel to see what they thought about that second game and, of course, the draft for Game 3.